Having finished work on Friday afternoon, we had then an anxious wait until we could finally go on our journey on the Sunday. We headed off, dropped the dog off, caught our pre-arranged taxi, which turned up on time, and here we are at Kettering Station, ready to meet our friends on the train that we'd pre-arranged to meet them on. What we didn't know was the train was sectioned off and we couldn't get to see them until we got off the train. At St Pancras, newly acquainted with our friends, although we had spoke over the phone, we then went across to the Premier Inn, which was only a stone's throw away from the station. We went in, decided it was too much of a day to go anywhere looking for food, so actually had our evening meal in the Premier Inn, which was fine. Next morning, nice and early, we left our hotel, not this one, unfortunately, and we made our way across to the John Betjeman statue where we first met Simon Lowe, our tour manager.
After meeting the tour manager, we all went down to customs and check-in, and then it was off to wait before we could get on the train. Once on the train, it was goodbye London, and then on the journey we had our breakfast.
The Euro Plus. In no time at all, we were rattling into Gare du Nord, which is the Paris station. We had a quick transit by road, where we all walked as a group, to Gare de l'Est, where we could then have a 40-minute wait to get something to eat. There were plenty of sandwich places available. Having fed yet again, we were now ready for the next stage, which was a trip to Strasbourg. We were there 40 minutes waiting for the train to come in. With the train arriving on time, we quickly got on board and started heading down towards Strasbourg. Strasbourg, when we got there, was a lovely station. We had yet another delay while we were waiting for the tour manager to sort out which platform we were going to leave from. But when we got there, we had a lovely old-style plush train to travel on our further journey to Basel.
We arrived in Basel to a lovely hotel, and we were pleased to see our room. Here we're on the balcony, and we've got a chestnut tree next to us, and they say mind parking your cars near the hotel, but we haven't got any cars. And right next to us is just a tram station, and you can see across there the station where we came in from Strasbourg, and originally from St Pancreas. We set out 8.5 hours ago, and this is the restaurant where we're going to be eating tonight. And next to us, this room here, is our friends Paul and Meg, who are staying.
Only Kay would know it was a chestnut tree from our balcony, but the balcony proved to be quite a talking point amongst us for the evening. We went for the meal. We went for a little jaunt down the road to the restaurant, and it was the first big meal we had all had together, where we could get to know each other quite well. This is the point we found out how expensive alcohol was in Switzerland. Here I am at the bar with a carafe. I didn't want him to pour it into a wine glass because I didn't want to waste any. It was like liquid gold.
And here is Brian having his coffee on the balcony, enjoying his morning coffee at 8 o'clock in the morning. And we're going out soon to have breakfast. Well, we're going downstairs to have breakfast in the hotel and then out to explore Basel.
Next morning was start of an adventure after breakfast. We had the all singing, all dancing Basel card, or Basel, also reminds me of Fawlty Towers, and we set off to tour. Meg had an objective. She wanted to go to the water clock. So we headed off down through the streets, passing all these pleasant buildings, especially the town hall, which was nicely coloured, on the way down to the fountain. When we got there, disappointment, because it wasn't going.
I think maybe there isn't enough water pressure to get the fountains to work.
Once we'd met our first objective, the fountain, although it was a slight disappointment, it was still quite a spectacle. And then we led through the streets with all the old buildings, back up through the narrow alleyways to a market square where the cathedral was sat on the opposite side. We also met up with Simon, who said he'd been already around at one point and he'd probably see us later. So, cathedral, here we come. It was a lovely building. We went in there and started touring round and found there was more and more to it as we went through. There was internal gardens, archways, lovely views and everything. And we actually got quite carried away in it. Although we separated our ways a few times, we ended up together again. The views inside were spectacular, and we were blown away by the stained glass windows and the way it caught the light inside. The object of our tour slowly changed. Subconsciously, I was looking for a toilet. So we asked on the exit of the cathedral. There wasn't one there, but he pointed us across the square to an automatic one, which was an experience in itself. So both I and Meg had a trip to the new toilet. Separately, of course, suitably relieved, as I felt, we thought we'd look for our access to the ferry boat, which we'd seen crossing the river from the yard in the cathedral. And we were pointed towards an opening in the wall, which led down to some rickety scaffolding where the boat sat. We'd missed the first one, so we waited for it to come back. And in the meantime, fellow travellers joined us on the jetty waiting for the boat. As we hopped in, it was a fascinating scheme because it had this big paddle and it was connected by a cable. And all the boatman did was whack the paddle across and it took us across the river using the flow of the river itself. So the plan was, once we've alighted from the boat, that we walk up the far bank towards the bridge further upriver, or further downriver as the flow was going, and then cross back over the bridge and have a drink somewhere. We didn't know where. So we ambled down the far side and it was a glorious day. We really enjoyed it. And we crossed on the further bridge and then back over to where the cathedral area was again. The cathedral looked far more grand looking from the bank side up towards its towers. We decided to forego the drink for now as we were at the other side of town and time was running out. So we headed across and we decided to use our all-city pass to get on the tram, which we didn't even have to show, to be honest, but we enjoyed the pleasure of using Basel's tram system, heading back to the hotel and the area in front of the station. We knew the number because we'd seen it there. We looked across and there was a bandstand. Well, what can I say about bandstands? Kay and I decided to do a dance in Basel in a bandstand. So we took time out. Meg and Paul decided to go for a coffee in the hotel and we went across to the bandstand for a dance in Basel. While we're dancing, and I've just got to add, we don't really dance that fast, right? The big thing was we had to hand in our passes for Basel. That was very important. I just thought I'd reflect on what happened next. We went on to the hotel and joined Meg and Paul for a cup of coffee in the bar. And then, on reflection, looking at our Garmin watch map, it showed us where we'd actually been in Basel. So we'd covered quite a lot in the morning, all in time, ready to go to the station for our journey on. Our next step was to catch the train in Basel station to Chur. This captivating route takes us past gleaming lakes towards increasingly dramatic mountains. From Chur, the last leg is this scintillating journey into the heart of the Swiss Alps. Sees us snake across deep ravines and scenic viaducts, past snow-capped peaks and rushing waterfalls before arriving in the stylish St Moritz.